Hello, brothers and sisters. This is Lisa, and I'm here to share a post by Dave Hodges, and the title is Following Regime Change, Americans Will Be Starved into Submission, and this word was posted on October 19th of 2019. Control oil, and you control nations. Control food, and you control the people. Henry Kissinger. If people let government decide what foods they eat and what medicines they take, their bodies will soon be in as sorry a state as are the souls of those who live under tyranny. Thomas Jefferson. Last night a source, a friend, called to wish a family member happy birthday. The source was a former high-ranking military officer with strong intelligence connections. His credentials are important because they speak to the fact that he has been and remains the best source I have had. In the course of our conversation, I asked him about President Trump and his future. He said that assassination is at the bottom of the decision tree for the globalists because they want to avoid producing a rallying point for Americans who are not awake to the tyranny that has overtaken our nation. But he also said that the deep state is fast approaching this option. I asked him if they were going to kill Trump, how they would do it, and he said through a mass casualty event, because nobody is going to believe the old worn-out cover story of a lone nut assassin with diary stating what they were going to do. The source went on to say that Trump will definitely not be in power when the transitional government comes into being. I asked him how the people would be controlled since there would be obvious resistance. The source stated the following: "You can't fight if you are not eating. The weather wars we are witnessing are all about attacking the potential food supply. Americans are going to be starved into submission. The most concerning aspect of these weather modification wars is that it is coming from the Trump administration and he is not in control. Trump does not likely know where the attacks are originating from. This is the most compromised administration in history. Why do you think so many intel and top-level officers are retiring to places like the Ozarks? They know what is coming. You have covered it before, Dave. Operation Mountain Guardian. The people will be forced to come to camps to eat after their cities are encircled by foreign troops in a continuity of government action. Some of these people, like you, are not coming out of these camps." One more thing. Revisit Executive Order 13603. This was to have been the control mechanism that Obama was to hand off to Clinton when she became president. This would give her ultimate control over the people. My intel says that weather wars is not the only attack upon the food. We are also going to observe a direct bio-attack upon the food supply as well, and very little will grow. Starvation will be planet-wide, not just here, but it will be most in evidence here in America. Some think that Trump will be removed through impeachment and Pence will follow. As I said, if impeachment does not produce the desired result, look for a mass casualty event to do the job. Pelosi will be sworn in and Hillary appointed to be VP. Very quickly, Pelosi will resign and Hillary will become president. I know I told you this a year ago, but this option appears to be the best way to effect a regime change. Very quickly, you will not recognize this country. The people will be rendered helpless due to famine. Tell the people, Dave, they must store food and water, and they better learn to hide it. If you think all this talk about cannibalism is just talk, Think again. Dave, please tell the people again about Executive Order 13603, because it is what Hillary will use to subjugate all of us. This starvation practice is the most effective because it is much more efficient than going door to door. This whole process has a timetable, and it is 2020. The Useful Idiots Party cannot win an election. A political takeover is not possible through the election process. I was allowed to record the conversation so I could accurately transcribe this message so long as I destroyed the recording when I completed the transcription. If I was on the outside looking in, I would be skeptical that it is going to get this bad. However, this is the same source that gave me the attempted Benghazi coup. It is the same source that told me how many of our political leaders are being blackmailed because of their bedroom habits, and this was years before most had heard of Epstein. The following is what he was alluding to. The lessons of history clearly demonstrate that dictatorial regimes, whether they be socialists, communists, and Marxists, will not hesitate to use food as a weapon against their own people in order to solidify power and impose absolute autocratic control. Food can be withheld from the masses by preventing it from being grown and harvested, by contaminating it and rendering it unfit for human consumption, or by simply preventing food from being distributed to a targeted population. The two most notable examples of dictators using food as a weapon in order to destroy the free will of their people comes from the regimes of Stalin and Hitler. Joseph Stalin engaged in his own Soviet-style Holocaust when in 1932 and 1933, the estimated 6 to 20 million people in the Ukraine died from starvation when Stalin implemented his prescription of hope and change policies in order to eliminate the Ukraine's desire for becoming their own nation-state. Upon assuming power, the Stalinist communist regime rapidly nationalized the food industry and forced all of the region's farms into collectives. Thus, Stalin's version of the Holocaust came to fruition in what history has dubbed the Holodomor, in which millions perished in only a 2-year period when the Soviet government began to exterminate the Ukrainian population by taking control of food and food production. Hitler proclaimed that food could be used as a tool to discipline the masses, and he did not hesitate to use the control of food as a type of carrot and stick in which he would reward accomplishment and punish failure, as well as to ferment preferential class distinctions in which his armed forces received the largest food ration cards. Skilled workers who were engaged in industries critical to the building of the German war machine received food ration cards which were slightly less in value. And finally, the prisoners and the Jews received the lowest valued Nazi food ration cards. Food ration cards were also utilized as incentives to increase industrial production and were also increased in value when productive Nazi workers would be promoted. Food ration cards were diminished in value for the failure to meet Nazi production goals. Hitler's use of what psychologists refer to as classical conditioning techniques reduced the will of the German population to a pack of Pavlovian dogs who were conditioned to be totally dependent upon the government for their survival. The use of food by the U.S. government has been a matter of official U.S. governmental covert policy since 1974 to 1975. In December 1974, National Security Council, directed by Henry Kissinger, completed a classified study entitled National Security Study Memorandum 200, Implications of Worldwide Population Growth for U.S. Security and Overseas Interests. The study was based upon the unproven claims that population growth in lesser developed countries constituted a serious risk to America's national security. In November 1975, President Ford, based upon the tenets of NSSM 200, outlined a classified plan to forcibly reduce population growth in LDC countries through birth control, war, and famine. Ford's new national security advisor, Brent Scowcroft, in conjunction with CIA Director George H.W. Bush, were tasked with implementing the plan, and the Secretaries of State, Treasury, Defense, and Agriculture assisted in the implementation of these insane genocidal plans. NSSM 200 formally raised the question, would food be considered an instrument of national power? When we look at what Obama did, the answer is an unqualified yes. What is coming is a contrived famine. Former President Obama's executive order, National Defense Resources Preparedness, is a continuation of that policy, only now the intended target are not the LDCs, but instead the American people. With the stroke of his pen, Obama has total and absolute control over all food, where his executive order states. And anyway, it states it here in the transcript. I will post that so you can read in that section. Continuing on, this unconstitutional executive order is particularly disturbing in that it clearly states that the government has control over anything that is capable of being ingested by either human beings or animals. If you thought that you and Fido were going to get through coming food crisis by consuming dog food, think again. How will farmers maintain the nation's food supply when all fertilizer, their farm equipment, and all of their vehicles are under the control of a sociopathic president? The term all food storage facilities includes your refrigerator, your pantry, and even the very food in your cabinets, as well as what is on your kitchen table. In short, anywhere you keep food is now under the control of the government and can be redistributed. Were you scratching your head in bewilderment as you watched on the news as the Amish have had their farms raided, raw milk producers have been jailed, and the kids running lemonade stands have been shut down and ticketed? Now you know why these abuses are being perpetrated by the government, in that it represents a mere conditioning process designed to get all U.S. citizens used to the idea that the government owns all food and food production. The most clever aspect of this executive order is that no Hegelian dialectic or false flag event is needed as a pretense to seize food and imperil survivability. Section 201B of the Obama Executive Order clearly states that this order is enforceable under both emergency and non-emergency conditions. I'm going to have to stop it here, everyone, and I will continue the last bit of it in the next video. Bye.